What's up everybody? My name is Joey and today I'm showing you part 2 of my entire video game collection as of January 10, 2022. In total there will be 3 parts. The first part is already up on YouTube and shows my Nintendo collection, and the third part will be up as well, combining my Xbox and Sega collections. To recap from the last video, I started collecting video games again in September of 2020, and right now I have collected about 1000 games and 30 some systems. Several hundred of those games are for my PlayStation consoles and handhelds, so that's what I'm showing you today. I'll make sure to add chapters to the video, so you'll be able to skip to the parts that you're most interested in. We'll start off with the PlayStation 1, then go through the PS2, PS3, PS4 and PS5 libraries that I own, and finally I'll show you my PSP and PS Vita games and systems. So without further ado, I hope you will sit back, relax and stay around for a bit while I'll talk about my PlayStation collection. So why don't you say we get started with my PlayStation 1 collection. Now I have to say I'm not the biggest PlayStation 1 collector, but the library of JRPGs is amazing with this system. So the games that I do have, most of them are JRPGs, and I'm looking to expand on that. So that's for the next year, I hope. The first game is Azure Dreams. Then I have Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. I'm still looking for the first and the second game. The next game is Fighting Force. Now this is one of the first games I remember playing in my life, actually. I played this at a classmate's when I was perhaps 8 years old or so, and have really cool memories with that. Then Final Fantasy Origins, which is a compilation of Final Fantasy 1 and 2. And I also have Final Fantasy Anthology, the European version, which holds Final Fantasy 4 and 5. And I believe the US version has different games. I think Final Fantasy 5 and 6, but I'm not entirely sure. So you can tell by the next games I'm definitely a big Final Fantasy fan. Final Fantasy 6. And here's my copy of Final Fantasy 7. Considered by many people the best game of all time. At least the best JRPG of all time. I'm not sure if I agree, but it's still a great game. I can't wait for the second part of the remake to come out on a PS5. Here's my copy of Final Fantasy 8. And Final Fantasy 9. So, got quite a few JRPGs and even more to come. Grandia. Now the first Grandia came out on the PS1 and the second on the PS2. And the third one was only released in the US, unfortunately, but I got that one digitally. And here's Gran Turismo. It was the first PS1 game that I had. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And this is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. I believe these are the only 2 Harry Potter games that came out on the PS1. Here's Rayman. Next up, really expensive game, Suikoden. And I'll just get the game that's the sequel to that, Suikoden 2. These games, it's kind of a cool story. I actually drove across the entire country to pick these 2 up. I got them for a great price. I think I paid 240 euros combined. So with gas money, that's like 260. And yeah, both great games, really rare. And it was just a fun day to drive all the way to Alkmaar in the west and pick these games up from a guy that had them from his childhood, and he didn't play them anymore, and he only found out right before selling them that they were actually worth quite a bit of money. So yeah, these 2 copies are mine now. The case is a little bit cracked for the first game, but yeah, that's okay. Great games. Next up is The Legend of Dragoon. awesome Final Fantasy VII contender from back in the day. And here I have Tekken 3. Now, I'm not the biggest fighting game fan, but I solely picked this up for the purpose of playing it with my cousin, who is really nostalgic to this game. And here I have some local pickups, Tomb Raider, the first game, and then the second Tomb Raider game as well. Picked these up for a couple of euros each at the local pawn store. And finally, my last game for the PlayStation 1 is Vagrant Story, which is another JRPG. So that is it for the PlayStation 1. I'm pretty satisfied with what I've accumulated over the last year. Some pretty expensive titles, most notably Azure Dreams, and then I believe the Final Fantasy Origins and Anthology are getting quite pricey. Of course, Suikoden and The Legend of Dragoon is actually quite pricey as well. So yeah, next year more PlayStation 1 games, I hope. But yeah, you'll see in a year if I've managed to acquire them. Now let's move on to my PlayStation 2 collection, which is quite large. So I'm not sure if it will even fit on this desk that I'm working on. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Let's move these out of the way. And let's get to my PlayStation 2 collection. So there we go, the PlayStation 2. I own 149 titles for the PS2, I believe. It's an extremely fun system to collect for. So many games, thousands of games came out for it. Also quite cheap system to collect for. Games are starting to get pricey. But then again, so many cheap games still. Amazing titles that you can get for $1, $2, maybe $3 a pop. And yeah, definitely recommend getting into the PS2 collecting. The first game I have is .hack Infection. This is the first part from a 4-part series. Anubis 2. Just a weird platforming game that I picked up. This is Automodelista. Now this is a bit more of a pricey title. It's a cel-shaded graphic style racer. So those kinds of games tend to hold up better with newer generations coming out, and there's just less of a graphic gap, so to speak. Next is Avatar, Last Airbender. There's an entire trilogy on there. This is the second game, The Burning Earth. I played this back in the day on the Wii, and I remember a classmate recommending this game to me for the Wii, and I went to the store. I paid 60 euros for it, which was like quite a lot of money for me. It was half of my savings, I think, back in the day. Played it, beat it in like a couple of hours, and was kind of disappointed because it was hyped up so much for me. But still, looking back at it, it's still a fun game, and I want to get to this trilogy and play them in order sometime. This is the third game. Not sure how it translates, but I believe it's the Fire Master in English. Next up, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, which is a cool co-op game, top-down action game. And I also have Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance 2. And here is Beyond Good and Evil. Also came out on the Xbox and the GameCube. Burnout Free Takedown. Considered one of the best racing games to have ever come out. What's cool about this game is that, well, in most Burnout games you have a mode in which you can crash your car, and that's probably the thing that people like the most from this game. Not just general racing, but yeah, just total carnage. That's pretty cool. It's also a Game of the Year, I see here on the sticker. 2004. This is the European version of Bully. In Europe it's called Canis Canem Edit. It's a game by Rockstar, and it's sort of like GTA but in high school. This is Castlevania Lament of Innocence, or just Castlevania in Europe. This is the only game I don't have a cover for, so I do have the game and manual. The cover is printed, so that's why the spine is different as well. It's the US version. Champions of Norath. And the second in the series, Champions Return to Arms. And here is Chaos Legion. I don't know anything about this game. I haven't really looked up what it is, but the cover just really speaks to me. Amazing art. It's also by Capcom. I think I paid €5 or €6 for it at a local seller. The pictures kind of remind me of Devil May Cry. It might be a bit like that. Perhaps it's a budget Devil May Cry, I'm not sure. Here is Constantine, a game that came in a lot. Decided to keep it. It's a game based on a movie, Constantine. This is Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex. People say that Crash Bandicoot games were best on the PS1. PS2 versions are a bit so and so. But yeah, I still want to try them. Perhaps I'll find a new favorite series for the PlayStation. Here's also Crash Nitro Kart, a contender for Mario Kart, of course. As well as Crash of the Titans. And Crash Twinsanity. Here we go. I think this is the first JRPG in this lot, Dark Cloud. And its sequel, Dark Chronicle, or Dark Cloud 2 in the States. Not sure why they changed the name. Perhaps the first Dark Cloud game didn't do too well and they wanted to like sort of change it up and create a new IP. But yeah, still, it's just a sequel. Great games. This is Def Jam Fight for New York. One of the priciest games, I think, for the PS2 in the US. I could be wrong, but I think it's quite pricey. Here in Europe, you can get it for like €20, so that's $25. I actually had a second copy that I sold yesterday, and I sold it for €17.50 because I couldn't get rid of it for 20. Pretty weird. I suppose we don't really value this type of game in Europe as much as they do in the US, or the print runs could have been different as well. I don't know. This game is called Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy VII. It's a spin-off title of the Final Fantasy series. And Disgaea 2, Cursed Memories. I have most of the Disgaea games. The first one, I have the remaster on the PS4. This is the second one, and then all the way through 5, I believe I have the games. There's also a 6th game in the series, which came out on the Switch exclusively. I yet have to get that one, and I hope it drops in price sometime. But yeah, the Disgaea games are strategy RPGs, just like Final Fantasy Tactics and Fire Emblem and stuff. And yeah, pretty cool games, great art style. Here is Downhill Domination, an arcade racing game. You drive a bike and you go down slopes, and it's really fast-paced. Really awesome racing game. Here is Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 2. Great cover. I like Dragon Ball Z a lot. Also watched the original Dragon Ball series entirely. This is the cover for Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, which is the most expensive Dragon Ball game on the PS2. But unfortunately, I don't have the correct disc. This one came with the first Budokai Tenkaichi game. So yeah, I have to find a disc for the third game and a case and a manual for the first. I don't know how that happened. I don't really remember. Another JRPG, Dragon Quest VIII, The Journey of the Cursed King. Looks amazing. I really like that they did a throwback to this character in Dragon Quest XI. You can actually get this outfit with the Day 1 edition, I think. You can play sort of like that character. Don't know too much about this title, but I do know that it's one of the best Dragon Quests, and it's definitely the one that I'm gonna play next in the series. Here is Dragon Guard, which is a prequel to the Nier series. So if you have played, or if you're interested in Nier Replicant or Nier Automata, games on the PS4, you should definitely check out the Dragon Guard games. There are 3 games. The first and the second came out on PS2, and then the third game came out on PS3. I'm missing the second game, but in Europe it's quite expensive. I think it fetches about 60 euros or so at this point. I do hope to get that game because I like the series a lot and I want to complete the set. Next JRPG is Ephemeral Fantasia, one of the first games that came out on the PS2, and the graphics and gameplay definitely show, as you can probably tell. Game by Konami, got a lot of horrible reviews, but I'm a big fan of the channel of Pete Dorr, and yeah, he speaks highly of this game, or at least he finds some fun in it. So when I found it sometime in a store or online, I'm not sure where I bought it, but when I saw it, I just got it. It was pretty cheap, and it's always good to add a JRPG to my collection. Speaking about RPGs, this is an MMORPG, EverQuest Online Adventures, which is only playable online. You can't really play it anymore, but yeah, I picked it up for €2. It's good to have. There's some history with that, and I enjoy collecting history. Final Fantasy X. What can I say about this game? Amazing. Final Fantasy X-2. And then, of course, Final Fantasy 12. So, shoving these aside, I've got another stack. This is Freak Out Extreme Freeride, which kind of looked like a knockoff of SSX, snowboarding game that I'll get to in a second. But yeah, you can actually use skis in this game. That's pretty cool. Haven't tried it out, but it does look cool, and I had never seen it when I first saw it in the store, and I just brought it home and have yet to try it. Most of these arcade titles from back in the day are really good, so high hopes for that one. Here's God of War. Now, funny story with this one. I was about 12 years old, I would say, when I got my PS2 the first time. And my mother was a housekeeper, and the place that she cleaned was a guy, and he had a PS2, and he didn't play the games a lot. And when he heard that I got a PS2, the son of his housekeeper, he gave my mother this for me to rent from him. And I was 12, and this is definitely an 18+ game. It's an M-rated game for sure. But I played it and I loved it, and ever since then I'm a fan of the series. I think I never returned the game, not even sure. But yeah, I did sell it probably when I sold my game collection. I also have God of War 2, excuse me. This is Grandia 2. Have the first game on the PS1, then the second one on PS2, and then there's also a third game on the PS2 called Grandia 3, which never came out here. I have a digital copy, but yeah, too bad we didn't get it. Now, one of my favorite series, Grand Theft Auto. This is the third game. Vice City. I played this on the PC back in the day, and my computer couldn't run it, so I bought it. I actually biked like 2 hours to get it. Biked home, put it in a computer. It had to download for like more than a night, I think. And then the next day I wanted to boot it up, and my computer couldn't really run it. So I remember playing the first missions, but not much more than that. I did play a lot of this afterwards on my PS2 back in the day. San Andreas. And here's Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. And Vice City Stories as well. Next is Gran Turismo 3. Realistic racing simulator. Gran Turismo 4 with a cool white case. I like it when they change up the colors. Here's Half-Life. Amazing shooting series. I think I played the second one on PC, if I'm not mistaken. I do also have the second game on the Xbox, but yeah, the first one on the PS2. And then the Harry Potter series. Here is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Really pricey game, that first one. Here's Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. So for some reason the first one fetches a lot of money. I'm not sure if the print runs were smaller or something like that, but of course it's the most iconic game, I guess. But yeah, the second one and onwards just fetch a little bit less for some reason. This is the third one, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. And then Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, which is my favorite movie, by the way, out of the series. I love that so much. I remember going back to this. Back then I went to the cinema with my parents and watched the movie, and yeah, magical memories. Okay, I'm running out of room. Just gonna move these aside so we can move on with the clean sheet. There we go. Let's continue with this clean sheet. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And finally Harry Potter Quidditch World Cup. Haven Call of the King. I don't know too much about this title either. But yeah, kinda just got it for the cover. Doesn't happen too often that I do that, but yeah. It happens from time to time. Hitman 2 Silent Assassin. Hitman Contracts. And Hitman Blood Money. Really cool to have these old school stickers on them. People used to pay 60 bucks for these. Now they're worth a couple of euros each. Eco. Many people consider this one of the best games on the system. I have yet to play it, but I'm looking forward to it. It's the type of game that you go on an adventure in, and yeah, it's just really artsy, but gets really high review scores. Here's my copy of Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. That's the first Jak and Daxter game. Here's Jak 2. And Jak 3. Really cool series. Now I have a couple of James Bond games. James Bond 007 Agent Under Fire. Everything or Nothing. From Russia with Love. And James Bond Nightfire. I have a duplicate of this game for the GameCube. But that's just because I'm really fond of that game. Grew up playing it and liked it so much. Here's Killzone, which continued on a PS3. And Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts 2. With a really cool, yeah, it's kind of shiny. Not really lenticular, but really cool version. Lara Croft Tomb Raider Anniversary. Tomb Raider Legend. And Tomb Raider The Angel of Darkness. Great titles. Max Payne. And I'm still looking for the second Max Payne game, but it just appears to be quite hard to get. I'm not sure why. Here's Manhunt, made by not Rare, by Rockstar, which made the Grand Theft Auto series. And Manhunt is a game that's really graphical, really violent, and yeah, it was so controversial back in the day. It was actually banned in several countries. Lemmings. Legend of K. Maximo, which is sort of a spiritual successor, not exactly a sequel, but it is in the universe of the Ghouls and Goblins world. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, and I have two versions of this game. The second one is this one, Substance. And this one is the more collectible one, I think. Just has a little more content. Metal Gear Solid 3. And Midnight Club 3 Dubby Dashing Remix. One of the games on the PS2 that I played as a kid. I used to have a PS2. Only had a couple of games. But yeah, Midnight Club was one of them. Samurai Legend Musashi. Or the other way around. However you like it. Naruto Uzumaki Chronicles 2. And I'm a big fan of Naruto. My favorite character is probably Shikamaru or Jiraiya. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. Need for Speed Underground. And this is the era of Need for Speed games that I really like. The newer versions, not so much. Need for Speed Underground 2. Off-Road Extreme. Don't know about this title. It just looks like fun arcade sandbox type of racing game. Should be fun to try out for an hour or two. And Okami. Moving on with the O's is Onimusha Warlords. This is the first Onimusha game, and I believe there are 4, maybe even 5. And this was actually remastered for the PS4. Digitally only, I think. It may have had a physical release too, I don't know. Prince of Persia, Warrior Within. And the Two Thrones. And The Sands of Time. Primal. And just like Kingdom Hearts 2, this one has such a shiny cover as well. It's pretty cool. This is the collector's edition. I think it comes with a bonus CD. Yeah, soundtrack CD. Ratchet and Clank. Unfortunately, I do have platinum versions of some of the Ratchet and Clank games. But I'll see if I can upgrade in the future. Ratchet and Clank 2. It's pretty easy to come across these games. I just don't... If I have a game, say Ratchet and Clank 1, and I have it platinum, I don't want to pay €5 for a regular copy. I just hope to come across it in a collection someday and just swap it out and resell this one. Ratchet and Clank 3. But yeah, what usually happens is that I do keep these games for quite a long time until I finally found one. This one does have a lenticular cover. Rayman 3 Hoodlum Havoc. Next up is Resident Evil Outbreak. I'm not sure how much I paid for this. Oh, €2, I can see that. That's not a bad price for a Resident Evil game. Here's Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Operation Resurrection. This also came out on the Xbox, and I think that version is just a little different. Ring of Red, which is sort of like... it's not a JRPG per se, but it's more like Battalion Wars. Graphic style is a bit like cartoony. But yeah, it looks like a cool game. Rogue Galaxy. Another great JRPG. And Scarface, The World Is Yours. One of the decent movie titles that came out on the PS2. Here's Shadow Hearts Covenant, which is actually Shadow Hearts 2. I'm missing the first game, and that's really expensive. So I hope to get it sometime. Probably not in the near future, but we'll see how that goes. I hope in this year. And this is Shadow Hearts from the New World. So that's the third game and the least well-received one. The first one, I believe, is the best. Or perhaps Covenant is the best, I'm not sure. Going price-wise, the first one should be the best. Shadow of Rome. which doesn't look like a great title, but I've heard many great things about this. It's a action hack and slash type of game that was actually pretty well made. Now, I'm out of room again, so just give me a second and I'll just magically move these aside. There we go. Now, onto the last part. We have arrived at the S's. This is Shin Megami Tensei Lucifer's Call. Yeah, that's a tongue breaker. It's called Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne in the States. And this one received a re-release on the Switch, which I actually picked up recently after filming the Switch Collection video. But yeah, this game dropped in price. I thought, wow, I should definitely get this. And I didn't know that this was being remastered on the new gen consoles, so that explained the drop in price. Still got it at a decent price. I think I paid 20 euros or so, but by now I've made that back in profit money, reselling, stuff like that. So I don't feel too bad having this copy, but if I ever want to play this game, I just will play the Switch version. Here's Silent Hill 2. This one has a slipcover of sorts, multiple disc. Great game. It's just too scary for me. And Silent Hill 3. I'm missing the 4th game. That will hopefully be added this year. Sonic Gems Collection. Awesome compilation. If you are not too big of a retro gamer, but you are interested in it, the PlayStation 2, but also newer gen consoles like the PlayStation 4 and the Switch have some great collection games. Sometimes you just get like 10 games on one disc and you can play the retro games the best way with a great controller. Not that the PS2 controller isn't great, but yeah. SOCOM games. I see these are a little bit out of order. Here's SOCOM 3. SOCOM 2. And SOCOM 1. These are your army games, tactical army games. Sly Cooper 3. Sly Cooper 2. And Sly 1. Now the reason these kind of go backwards is because I have them shelved in a certain way, and somehow I made a little mistake by placing them on my desk for now, so bear with me. They're a little bit out of alphabetical order as well. Here is Sonic Heroes, which is my favorite Sonic game growing up. And it's also considered one of the worst globally. Sonic Riders. Sonic Unleashed. And Soul Calibur 2. Now I do have the GameCube copy of this as well. I think I'll get rid of this copy eventually. But yeah, unlike the GameCube version, which has an exclusive character Link, this one has the exclusive character Heihachi. And then there's also a original Xbox game that has another exclusive character there. I'm not sure which one. Soul Calibur 3. And the SSX series. The first SSX. My favorite one, SSX Tricky. Favorite character is definitely Eddie. I love Eddie. It's what I nickname my son as well, Eddie. SSX 3. And finally SSX on Tour. I remember picking up this game, not this game exactly of course, because like I said in my first video, I only have a single game left from my childhood by now. But I remember picking up a copy of SSX on Tour on a flea market back when I was a kid, and I threw it in and I expected it to be just as good as SSX Tricky, but while it was good, it wasn't as good. Star Ocean Till the End of Time. This is the 3rd Star Ocean game. It's a JRPG. This is Teleduce, The Gate of Eternity. It's a pretty pricey game that I traded for. Next up, speaking about JRPGs and pricey games, is Suikoden 4. Suikoden, like I showed before, I have the first and the second game. Then the third game didn't ever come out here in Europe, strangely enough. So I have that as a digital copy on my PlayStation Vita and my PS3. Then I have the fourth and the fifth over here. Suikoden. It's just a cool series. Tekken 4. Tekken 5. And Tekken Tag Tournament. All upgrade material as well, since they're platinums. The Godfather. Cool game. Played that as a kid on PC. I hope it's the same version, I'm not sure. The Punisher. That's a really brutal game as well. I mean, the title says it all. And looks like the cover of this game was punished as well. These dad jokes. Legend of Spyro, Dragon is Born, or New Beginning. I'm not sure which one this is in English. Lord of the Rings series actually came with a couple of good games. This one is the worst out of the three that I have. But yeah, this one is the Fellowship of the Ring, and it follows the first movie. Now the second one was published by EA, The Two Towers. This is a great game. Beat 'em up, multiplayer. And Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. I played this last year with a friend on the couch. So much fun. Now here's another JRPG, The Sword of Aetheria. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not even sure if it's a JRPG or more like an action, 3D action game. Time Splitters 2. Never played this in my life, unfortunately, but I do want to. So I've picked up a copy and I want to try it out. Co-op on the couch with somebody who would want to play with me. Unfortunately, I don't have too many friends that are really into this retro gaming stuff. I have one or two, but they like Nintendo stuff. So unfortunately, these PlayStation titles don't get so much play, or at least multiplayer time. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and Pro Skater 4. Definitely top 5 most nostalgic games for me. Here is Tony Hawk's Underground. And Underground 2. Now I have these two copies lying around on Xbox as well. And I'm contemplating selling them because primarily when games have come out on several systems like the GameCube, PlayStation 2, Xbox, my priority picks are first GameCube, then I want to get them on PS2 and then Xbox. So if I come across one that I already have on PS2 like this and I see it on Xbox as well, I usually tend to keep the PlayStation 1. But when it is turned around, when I have the Xbox One and I find the PlayStation 1, I kind of upgrade that way. But yeah, before we go on, it's kind of difficult to choose whether to keep the PlayStation version or the Xbox one, because recently I've come to realize that Xbox games, since they are, most of them at least, are backwards compatible with the newest Xbox systems, and these upgrade the graphics by so much, it might be better to keep an Xbox collection. And I do have my largest game collection is actually Xbox 360. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not sure if I want to take the leap and switch to Xbox games. And keeping them both is not really an option because of space reasons. True Crime, New York City is the next game. Here is Twisted Metal Black. Valkyrie Profile Sumeria. So this is the second Valkyrie Profile game. The first one came out on the PS1 and in Europe on the PSP. So I'm looking for the PSP version. If you're into PSP, just hold on. Later in this video, I'll also show my PlayStation handhelds. I have some great games for it. Wild Arms 3. And Wild Arms 4. Now, Grandia, Wild Arms, but also Suikoden, all have one game in a series that didn't come out in Europe, and for Wild Arms is the second game. The first one came out on PS1, second game didn't come out, and then the third, fourth, and even the fifth one that I don't have came out on PS2. Just so you know. X-Men Legends, which is the last game in my PlayStation 2 collection. Right, so that wraps up my 149 PlayStation 2 games. I'll just zoom out a little more so you can see all of these games. And I've put a lot of them there on the floor as well. Don't mind my messy room. So let's put this back on the stand. I'll just put these back on the shelves and continue with my PlayStation 3 games. Next up is PlayStation 3. Now, I have 3 reasons to collect for this system. Because mainly I focus on Xbox 360. Like I just explained, I primarily focus on PS2 games when they've also come out on the Xbox, but it's kind of the other way around when it comes to Xbox 360 and PS3, because Xbox 360 is just a system that I grew up with. It is the system that has backwards compatibility and also has cheaper games for the most part. So PS3 wise, I have 3 reasons to collect, like I said. The first one being JRPGs, because it's an amazing JRPG system. The second reason is just PlayStation 3 exclusives, of course. That's a good reason to own a system. And the third one is just games that I came across that I couldn't find for the Xbox 360, so I did get them on PS3. The first game is Artonelico Koga, one of the first games that I got for the system. And next up is Atelier Rorona. If you're not familiar with the Atelier games, they came out on the PS2 originally, or in Japan, I believe even on an earlier system, but in the West we got it on the PS2 first. So there's a trilogy called Atelier Iris, or Atelier. I'll just call it Atelier. It's more sophisticated that way, I guess. But yeah, Atelier Iris came on the PS2. Then over here we got a couple more series, trilogies, and then it continued on the PS4. And then eventually now we have Atelier Ryza, which has really put these games into the spotlight, and these become more and more collectible, also because they haven't really sold really well back in the day. So if you do ever come across Atelier games, pick them up, because they will only rise in price in the future. This is the second game in this trilogy, the Arlen trilogy, it's called, Atelier Totori. And Atelier Meruru. Now for the Dusk trilogy, I have Atelier Ayesha. And Atelier Esha and Logi. Now I'm missing a third game out of that trilogy that I'll hopefully get sometime soon. Catherine. Great game. If you didn't know, this was made by the people that made the Persona 5 game. And when you look at this game, you can definitely tell that they worked on both games. Just kind of similar art-wise, humor and stuff like that. This Gaia 3, Absence of Justice. And here is Dragon's Dogma. Didn't pay that price, fortunately. Got this for free. And then Dragon's Dogma 2. Dark Arisen. Now, here's my sealed copy, and it's actually a NTSC version, US version of Drakengard 3. Like I said, it's from the it's a prequel to the Nier series, so it's worth getting into if you like Nier Automata or Nier Replicant. El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron has become really pricey as of late. Enchanted Arms. Fallout 3. Now this is one of these games that also came out on Xbox 360, but I just happened to get my hands on it on the PS3 version and decided to keep that. Fallout New Vegas. I do think these boxes look a bit better than the Xbox 360 ones. The green ones, I mean, yeah, it's kind of nostalgic to me, but yeah, these just look a bit more sleek. Here's FIFA Street with your boy Lionel Messi. Final Fantasy 13. I have the Japanese exclusive limited edition PlayStation 3 system of Final Fantasy 13, and it has Lightning, the main character, on the system itself. Here's 13.2. And Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. So this is the entire trilogy. I have a copy of Realm Reborn, Final Fantasy 14 Online. So this is the MMORPG that I've played a lot on the PC. And I've also played it a lot on the PS4, a couple hundred hours. But when I found the PS3 copy, which is the system that it originally came out on, I thought I wanted to have it. Folklore. Another one of those games that I picked up about a year ago for maybe 10-15 euros, and that became crazy expensive after the PS3 store was about to be shut, and then they reopened it or kept it open. And yeah, game is still pricey because people have come to realize how awesome that game is, along with some others that I'll get to. God of War 3. Got a HD remaster on the PS4. God of War Ascension. And Grand Theft Auto 5. Great game. Gran Turismo 5. And the 6th game in the franchise. Heavenly Sword, one of the few platinum titles that I have for the system. This was a launch title. And yeah, a really good one. Heavy Rain. Now, a local collector told me that I should really put this high up on my wish list or my want-to play list. And it kind of fell down a little bit because I got new games, and you know how that goes. When you get new games, you want to play those first. So the ones that you got earlier kind of moved down the line. But yeah, Heavy Rain is supposed to be a really cool game, and yeah, should definitely try and get into that. Hitman Absolution. Hyper Dimension Neptunia. Great artwork. Haven't played the Neptunia games, but they do look awesome. Hyperdimension Neptunia MK2 is a sealed copy from the US. Infamous, one of the best exclusive series on the PS3. Also have the sequel, Infamous 2. And here is Killzone 2. And the third one, Killzone 3. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Little Big Planet. Great game, so much fun co-op. Great exclusive as well. Little Big Planet 2. Just improved upon the first one. A sealed copy of Lost Dimension. Atlas RPG. Those three things just resonate with me. JRPG, Atlas, and then third, sealed. It's always good to have a sealed game. It just feels so good opening it, playing it like it's something that you just got out of the store. Or you could get it digitally in the sale and keep the game sealed, have it on the shelf, and yeah, it accumulates a lot of value. And I mean, that's not the first reason why I collect, but yeah, of course, it's fun to see your games rising in value, right, over the years. Metal Gear Solid 4. MotorStorm. Great racing games. I have a couple. MotorStorm Apocalypse with the ugly, ugly platinum. And MotorStorm Pacific Rift. Here is Ninja Gaiden Sigma, really beat up copy. I think it has a Blockbuster sticker or something alike, and it's a copy from the States, so it's kind of fun, a cool copy, even though it doesn't look the best. It's fun that it was a rental copy, or it was sold secondhand in a store in the US, and it came over to Europe and ended up in my collection somehow. Ni no Kuni Wrath of the White Witch. I have never played this. It's one of my biggest guilty pleasures. Not guilty pleasures. One of my I'm at a loss for words. I've been filming for quite a bit of time. It's I feel kind of bad. It's like a confession, a backlog confession, that I haven't played Ni no Kuni because it's just a game that looks exactly like, for me, Studio Ghibli worked together with Level 5 to make this game, and it's supposed to be the best, if not one of the best, PlayStation 3 JRPGs. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. So this is PlayStation's attempt at making a Super Smash Bros. Prince of Persia, Forgotten Sands. And Puppeteer, which is just another title like Folklore that really shot up in price and became really valuable. Now, one more stack to go. Here is Ratchet & Clank: A Crack in Time. I heard the Ratchet & Clank games on the PS3 weren't the best, but yeah, they are collectible. I like them. All for one. Now these have different titles in the US, some of them at least, so bear with me. Quest for Booty. Always on a quest for booty. Tools of Destruction. Red Dead Redemption. Great game. Played this when this came out on the Xbox 360. And I also have the expansion pack, which is supposed to be really good. Undead Nightmare. Next up, Resistance: Fall of Man, which is another series of exclusive titles for the PS3. So if you have a PS3, pick these up. They're really cheap. Second one. And the third one. And this is Resonant of Fate. Resonance, I should say. Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, which is the fourth game in the series. And let me just shove these to the side so we get a bit more room in the shot for the last couple of games. Star Ocean: The Last Hope. Came out on the 360 as well, but the PS3 version is the upgraded version, if I'm not mistaken. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2. Missing the first game. It's one of the only games that I'm missing for the PS3. Tales of Graces F, which is sealed as well. Picked this up for €12. It's still for sale. If you're in the Netherlands, go to Netgames website. They're selling it for €12, and it's constantly on sale. So it's not the most valuable title, but yeah, English cover, JRPG, Tales of game. What more can you wish for? Speaking of Tales, Tales of Symphonia Chronicles. Now this game holds two games actually. It's an upgraded or deluxe version of Tales of Symphonia for the GameCube, and then Tales of Symphonia Dawn of the New World for the Wii. So yeah, basically this is the definitive version of those games. Even though the GameCube version is great and the Wii version is meh at best. Tales of Xillia Day 1 edition. Pretty cool. I kind of like these because they do fit in the row on the shelf. But yeah, they're just a little bit extra. I have a special edition of Tales of Xillia 2 as well. It's a steelbook version. It looks really cool. Really shiny. Tears of Tiara 2. Another JRPG. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Great game. never made it all the way through. I played it 2 times on the PC and then again on the PS4. Then I lost my save and I couldn't bring myself playing it for a 3rd time because I put so many hours. I think the 2nd playthrough I put like 80 hours in the PS4 version. The Last of Us. Recently finished this on the PS4. It was quite a good game, but I'm not as positive about it as everyone else in the world. The Walking Dead Telltale. Tomb Raider. The first one out of the trilogy from the current gen. Uncharted Drake's Fortune, which is not a start of a trilogy. Because here we have, by many people considered the best PS3 game ever come out. It's Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. And Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception. Final 3 games for PlayStation 3. Valkyria Chronicles. Awesome game. It's a World War strategy RPG. White Knight Chronicles, which comes with the first White Knight Chronicles. So this is the 2nd game, but it comes with the 1st game. So it's basically 2 in 1. And then finally, with a little spin, you didn't see that unfortunately. Wipeout Fury HD, or HD Fury. Wipeout series are awesome, really fast racing games, kind of compared to F-Zero on Nintendo consoles. But yeah, that is the last game that I have for PS3. Little zoom out. Not too many. I think I have like 60 titles or so, maybe a bit more. But yeah, awesome collection nonetheless. I'm gonna wrap this up and do my PlayStation 4 collection tomorrow because I really needed to clear my throat a bit and have some rest. But yeah, thanks for watching the PS3 part. We'll move on with the PS4 part in a couple of seconds. Up next is the PlayStation 4. I currently own about 80 titles for the PlayStation 4 and it's slowly becoming one of my favorite systems to have come out. The current library on the PS4 is huge. There are so many great games, many JRPGs, action games, games with great graphics, great indie titles too. I'll just go through them one by one. As you'll see, there are quite a few games that are still sealed. I'm picking them up lately from web shops that have them on sale, and yeah, these go for great prices. So if you are deciding on collecting for the PS4, definitely start now and look for sales. The first game is 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Atlas RPG. That one is sealed. The next, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That's a game right up my alley. I've loved the Assassin's Creed games ever since the first one on PC. And Odyssey with the Greek mythology is just for me. And then Assassin's Creed Origins. Same story, but then in Egyptian lore. Great stuff. Here is Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Kind of interesting. It's a game that sets place in London, I believe. Here's Atelier Virus, The Alchemist and the Mysterious Journey. Now, with just like the PS2 and PS3, there are many Atelier games that came out on the PS4. I only have one, but yeah, they kind of tend to not lower in price as of late, so I'm just gonna wait a little while longer, maybe a year or two, and if they still stay at the same price point by then, I'll just pick them up regardless. Here's Batman Arkham Knight. I've heard great things about this game, just haven't gotten around to playing yet. Battlefield 1, great game, put many hours into the online mode, picked that up on launch. Battlefield 4. And here's a sealed copy of Bladed Fury. Now, I picked this up last week, got it in sale for like 12 euros, and what I know about it, it's an indie title, and And basically it reminds me of Odin Sphere, Dragon's Crown. It's kind of like that 2D art style, and it's an 2D action game. Really short, only like 3-4 hours of gameplay. But yeah, for that price, it's I believe it's quite an uncommon title. I hadn't ever seen it before I saw it on sale. And it's already sold out now after 1 or 2 days. So yeah, that might become a more uncommon game. Here's Bloodborne. Borderlands 3. I've got the Super Deluxe Edition, which comes with a steelbook, which is really good looking. And I'm currently playing Borderlands 3. Enjoying it quite a bit. I mean, the gameplay is cool. I'm trying to get the hang of the weapon system. You get random weapons with bonuses and sometimes even downsides to them. But yeah, the gameplay is cool. Story, not so much. Played about 20 hours, I think, and I need to play 2 or 3 hours more, then I'll have that finished for my second game of the year. Call of Duty Black Ops 4. I was a big Call of Duty Black Ops 1 and 2 fan. Here's Code Vein, which arrived this week. Another sealed JRPG. Unfortunately, the seal was torn and I got a partial refund. So yeah, I do plan on opening up the game and playing it eventually, so getting a refund on it is good. Devil May Cry HD Collection, so this holds Devil May Cry 1, 2 and 3. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. And the second part, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory. Now what's cool about these games, they actually play at the same time. So there's a story with these characters in the Digimon world. And if you're familiar with Digimon from the past but not in the present, that's not too big of a problem, because you can dive into this game and not knowing anything about Digimon and still enjoy it. But yeah, the story of this game plays in a certain universe. At the same time, this story plays out. And then within both games, you can actually see the other group of characters. You interact with them just slightly, and it's just pretty cool the way they did that. Here are my Disgaea games. This is Disgaea 1 Complete, which is a remake of the first Disgaea game. Disgaea 4 Complete, it's still sealed. And Disgaea 5, Alliance of Vengeance. Now this is this Disgaea series, if you're not familiar with them, they are strategy RPGs, so like chess RPGs, if you will, and it's kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem, that sort of game. But Disgaea is known for its humor, so that's something that it brings to the table. Next is Dishonored Definitive Edition. So that's a remaster as well from the 360 and PS3 games. And Dishonored 2. Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. Now this one received horrible reviews. I'm keeping it sealed. Not sure if I want to play this one. Maybe down the line. But yeah, it's a Final Fantasy game and I picked it up for like €5 sealed. So that was a great deal. Now this is Divinity Original Sin 2, the Definitive Edition. This was one of the 10, maybe 15 games that Radar reviewed with a 10 out of 10. It's a great game. It's sort of like inspired by a Dungeons and Dragons kind of universe, and yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Baldur's Gate games on the PS2. You should check it out if you're interested in that type of game. Dragon Age Inquisition. Dragon Ball Xenoverse XV. And here's another pickup from this week, Dragon's Crown Pro. I was looking for this game for the longest time and I'm happy to have picked it up right now. It is a pretty cool steelbook as well. That's textured. so sticks out the artwork. And yeah, Dragon Crown, great game, Vanillaware game, published by Atlas. Dragon Quest XI, Echoes of an Elusive Age, the only Dragon Quest game that I finished. Awesome game. I actually played it twice. The first time around like 30 to 35 hours, and then quit, lost my save file and had to restart. And then I started from the beginning and played it all the way through last year. And this is just such an amazing game. Also a JRPG, of course. Dragon Quest, one of the biggest franchises by Square Enix. Same company that makes the Final Fantasy games. And yeah, Dragon Quest is just so good. The story, the characters, the gameplay, everything is just top notch. And I would definitely rate this game with a 9.5 out of 10. Next is Fallout 4. I played the PC version of this a little bit back in the day, but yeah, I want to get back to the console version because I don't play on PC anymore. Far Cry 4. And Far Cry 5. Thinking of starting this game soon with my brother-in-law. We might play the co-op story mode together. Final Fantasy VIII Remastered. This one is sealed still. Here's Final Fantasy XIV Online. So this is a JRPG, but like an MMORPG, more like that. Like I said, with my copy on PS3, I played this game for about 200, maybe 300 hours on the PS4 console, and like over 1,000 hours on the PC a couple of years ago. And this is just a great game, great alternative to World of Warcraft if you do play that game or have played it and fell out. If you are looking for MMORPG, you're looking for story, great classes, a cool crafting system, but most importantly, awesome dungeons and stuff like that, definitely give it a go. They often give out free trials and stuff like that. And here's a boxed expansion pack, Stormblood, which was a great story as well. Here's Final Fantasy 15. This is the Royal Edition, which comes with most of the DLC. This copy is sealed, and that's because I have it digitally as well. This is one of those games that I finished in 2021. And just like with Dragon Quest XI, I started this in 2016 or 17. Played it for like 30 hours, then quit, lost my save file and had to start all over, but I didn't regret it one bit. Awesome game. Mixed reviews, but if you're a Final Fantasy fan, like the older games 1 through 6, this is like so different to those first Final Fantasies. But if you're a new gen JRPG action type game lover, then this game is definitely for you. You should definitely give it a go. Next is God of War 3 Remastered, and now that I think about it, I also have this on PS3, so I might get rid of the PS3 version. God of War, just titled God of War, came out in 2018. One of the first games that I played on my PS5. Awesome game. I think it is the best game perhaps that I played on the PS5, or the best PS4 game that I have played. In fact, it's just so good. What can I say? What hasn't been said about this game? The story is so good. The gameplay is amazing. Graphics are cool. I love the mythology that comes in. The Greek mythology that comes from Kratos and his son, but then also the Norse mythology in which this game is based on. So Kratos as a Greek demigod goes to the Norse area. So yeah. Horizon Zero Dawn, the complete edition. Now this is a PlayStation Hits version, which is ugly. The spine is red, and I'll probably upgrade this in the future. I still have this sealed, and that's because I have the same game digitally. So I can play it digitally, keep this one sealed, and that's the way I like to ideally do with my PS4 games. Here is Indivisible, indie JRPG kind of game. Oh no, it's not a JRPG. I think it's a Western RPG that's supposed to look like a JRPG. I'm not entirely sure. Perhaps it is from Japan. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, this is an indie game, and it has this 2D graphic style, sort of look hand drawn, and it's a pretty cheap game, but it's really underrated, and people really regard this as a great affordable RPG. Next is It Takes Two, still sealed. I picked this up this week, and I'm looking to play it. Now, this game, I think, was Game of the Year 2021, so I'm really looking forward to trying it out. Perhaps I'll get my wife to play it with me, and otherwise I'll play it with a friend. And what's cool about this copy is when you buy one copy, you can actually have another friend online download it for free. So you can get the friend version and you can play it together. Killzone Shadowfall. Here is Knowledge is Power. This one is sealed as well. I have the digital copy. Great party game. You use your phone to interact with the game, and everybody is on their phones. From time to time, you take pictures of yourself, and it's like this is a quiz game. Lego Harry Potter Collection. Play this with my wife. Not the whole way through. I think we're only at the second year, and this is like year 1 to 7. I'm not the biggest Lego fan. I never got Lego as a kid, but yeah, I love the Harry Potter universe, and these games are really funny and really well done. They follow the movies, and yeah, they stay quite close to the movies, so it's pretty cool. Next up is a large box, Little Town Hero Big Idea Edition. This one is sealed still. As you can tell, many sealed games. I do hope to play more PS4 games in the next year. But yeah, this game, what's funny about this one, I picked this up on sale, 28 euros if I remember correctly. But this game was actually made by Game Freak. And it was the first game that Game Freak made that wasn't a Pokemon game. So Game Freak is the company that makes the Pokemon mainline games. So from Pokemon Red and Blue all the way to the newer Pokemon games. And they made this game as a JRPG, turn-based, with hand-drawn style. And it looks really cool. It didn't get the best reception. But yeah, I want to support that company because they make my favorite games. Next up is Mafia 3 Deluxe Edition. Still haven't gotten around to playing this one, but I loved Mafia 2. Marvel Spider-Man, the last game that I finished last year. Amazing game, amazing graphics, so much fun to just sling around the city. And yeah, the story was pretty good. Action was top-notch. The humor was pretty good. And I'm currently playing the second game. I'll get to that in my PS5 collection, but yeah. Basically the second one I feel like is a little worse, but yeah, this one is definitely in my top 10 PlayStation 4 games. Metal Gear Solid 5. Now this is the definitive experience, which holds the Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, basically 2 games. So that's the best version you can get. Middle-earth Shadow of War. Also still looking for the Shadow of Mordor game. Here is Nier Automata. Ni no Kuni 2, Revenant Kingdom. Played this a little bit after it came out. I remember it going on sale right after it released, so that's often not a good sign. But yeah, I played it for 2 hours, then stopped playing, sold my PS4 back in the day, and then didn't pick it up until recently. Overwatch. Now this is the Game of the Year edition. Played Overwatch for about 250, maybe 300 hours. Great game. I loved playing as Torbjorn, Tracer, Winston, many characters. But yeah, it's a fun game. It's a shooter. I liked playing it back when I was still a little bit more competitive with games, and by now I don't play it anymore because it's just it is a time sink. And yeah, when I do start when I decide to play a time sync game, I want it to be a JRPG with like 80 hours of gameplay, because that just speaks to me more. Next up is the largest game in my collection. I'll just show the loose game first. This is Persona 5 Royal, the Steelbook edition. And this is actually the game that came into a large collector's edition that I have. I'll just see if I can fit it in the screen. I'll move some games aside, because we need some room anyway. Here it is. So yeah, the Phantom Thieves edition, and this one comes with a great Joker mask on a stand. Yeah, the Steelbook game, it says on there the soundtrack, great art book, and yeah, it's absolutely huge. Here you can see the mask. Yeah, this is still as new. Mask was never displayed. Got it for a great price. Usually I don't go for collector's editions, but I think that Persona 5 Royal, even though I have only played a couple of hours of it, I still think it's one of the best games that came out on the PS4, and it's really collectible if you have one of these collector's editions, I think, at least. Let's move this over. And these as well, because we need a room. Here we go. Here is the Japanese version of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney 1, 2, and 3. So this is the trilogy that originally came out on a Nintendo DS. I picked this up on a local marketplace. Didn't really expect to find it. But yeah, this is a Japan-only physical copy. You can get it on the eShop for PAL versions, PAL systems. But I wanted to get the physical copy. And yeah, it's just the definitive edition of these games. Ratchet and Clank, PlayStation Hits version. I need to upgrade this. It's sealed because I have the digital version as well. Played that for quite a few hours. Red Dead Redemption 2. I remember getting this as a birthday gift from a lot of friends that all chipped in. And yeah, it's an awesome game. I finished it. Also in my top 10 favorite PS4 games. Awesome game. I was so stunned by the story and the graphics, and yeah. Here's Resident Evil 2. Like I said before, I'm too scared to play Resident Evil games, but I still want to have them, because if I eventually get the guts to play them, I'll have them ready. And here's Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. You can play this with VR, and my brother-in-law played that entirely in VR, and I can't imagine doing that. It's just way too scary. Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's the one of the trilogy. I have one part on PS3, one part on the PS4, and then I'm missing the last part. Here is the free pack of Tales games. So this is Tales of Vesperia, Tales of Zestiria, and Tales of Berseria. I have two of these digitally, so I want to get the third one. I believe I have Zestiria and Berseria digitally. And if I can get the other one as well, I can keep this sealed. I think that's going to be a good idea for the future. Really collectible box, I guess. Great games. Tales of are JRPGs that are more action-focused, not combat. Not turn-based combat. That's You. Fun party game. You use your phone as well. PlayStation PlayLink app. And you make pictures of yourself. And then it's like a Bandcamp kind of game. And how do I go about this? Basically what you do is you pick persons that you feel like belong to a certain quote. So if a quote says, this person is most likely to get lost in the woods and get eaten by bears, then you pick the person that made a picture of themselves and you select them. And then there's also mini games in which you use these pictures of you and your friends that are sitting with you on the couch playing this. And you can use these pictures to draw on them, and you have to draw like your friend as a fairy princess, or your mother as a I don't know, as a baby and stuff like that. It's silly fun. I have a sealed copy because I have this one digitally as well. The Alliance Alive, There's a game that came out originally on the 3DS. I wanted to get that version, but then I found out that it was re-released on the PS4. So yeah, that's probably a better experience. Now here is The Last of Us Remastered, one of the games that I finished last year. Honestly, out of 25 games, and I mean, this is gonna be an unpopular opinion, but I played 25 games last year, and there were 2 games that I didn't like as much as I would expect to. The first one being Journey. I have the digital copy of that. Journey, also from GameSpot or Game Radar, got a 10 out of 10. It's one of the best reviewed games on the PS4, but to me, it just felt bland. And then The Last of Us Remastered. I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. And in comparison, I feel like The Last of Us is like a thinned down version of the series, HBO series, The Walking Dead. And I know that's an unpopular opinion, but yeah, it just didn't grip me as much as it did for most people. And I am interested in playing the second game. I don't know what it is. The gameplay was okay, not the best. The graphics were great. And the story, while the characters were really well voice acted and they really put a lot of time in making these characters attractive, and you wanted to know what would happen next. It was really a tense game. It kept me on the edge of my seat. But then again, the story in the end, I felt like, okay, that's it. Yeah. Don't hate me for that. I mean, yeah. Now here's The Outer Worlds. Picked this up last week. Great game. Paid like €10. Sealed game. Awesome sale. And over here we have The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel. Now this is a series of JRPGs, highly regarded by fans, considered to be one of the best JRPGs on the system, maybe even best of the new gen consoles. And this is a series, like I said, because I can show you the other parts as well. Here's Trails of Cold Steel 2. And Trails of Cold Steel 3. And then the final part, Trails of Cold Steel 4. Now I'm thinking about playing through these this year. If I do decide to play through all this series, I kind of want to start with the PSP version of these games, because that's like a prequel, and I have that game. It's really expensive, but I'll show it in a bit. But if I do make the commitment to play the Legend of Heroes games this year, that means I'll have to play through 5 JRPGs that are all like 30 to maybe 80 hours long each. And yeah, that's just gonna take up a lot of room in my free time, and perhaps I won't be able to play many other games. But yeah, perhaps I can play the first game and then on the PSP, and then the first one on the PS4 as well. Sims 4. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, that's a confession, I haven't played this. I'm kind of waiting on a really good sale to get the Game of the Year edition and then play it on the PS5. I also believe there's going to be a PS5 remastered kind of version coming out, so I might wait for that as well. But recently I watched the series, the Witcher series on Netflix, and that's awesome and just really makes me want to play these games. Is Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I bought this to play with the younger brother of my wife, and we played it together for like a couple of hours, and it was good fun. But yeah, it's not my type of game. It was kind of more like a game that I wanted to buy to bond with him a bit. Trials Fusion. It's a cool motorcycle game. You go from left to right, and you do tricks, and you try to make it to the end of the level. Here's Uncharted Nathan Drake Collection, which holds the first 3 games of Uncharted that I also have on the PS3. Uncharted 4. Here is Valkyria Revolution. Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs 2, World of Final Fantasy. Now here's another series that I have all games for, I think. Haven't played them all, but I'm a huge fan of this series. It's the Yakuza series. Yakuza 0 is the first game that I played, and if you want to get into this series, I recommend you start with this one, even though it's probably the best one, or maybe the second one, in order of how good they are. But this just is a prequel to the rest of the games in terms of story, and it's just awesome. It's this action beat 'em up kind of game. It's 3D, and you play as Kiryu and Majima, two main characters, and both are really violent in a way, but they have their motives to be in the Yakuza, so that's kind of like the Japanese mafia, and you have to play these games for the story. The gameplay is fine. I mean, it's quite good. It's well developed, but I played this mainly for the story. I think I played it on normal mode, perhaps even easy mode in some parts. But yeah, the story is amazing. The characters are so likable, but also the bad guys. You really want to beat the bad guys in this game, and yeah, that's the first game that I played is Yakuza 0. And then Yakuza Kiwami, which is a remake of the PlayStation 2 game. And that's basically Yakuza 1. I played this game. Awesome. Not as good as Yakuza 0, but still a very good game. And then next on my list to play is Yakuza Kiwami 2. So I haven't played this one, nor the other games in the series. But this is a remake of Yakuza 2 on the PlayStation 2. This is one of the, I think, 5 games that I will play next on the PS4. Great series. And then I have a sealed copy of the Yakuza Remastered Collection. And I fear for this copy because I think it's going to get opened as soon as I finish Kiwami 2. Because the Remastered Collection has Yakuza 3, 4 and 5. And then here we have Yakuza 6, A Song of Life. This one comes in a cardboard slipcover with a art book in there. And then Yakuza 7, or here in the West it's called Yakuza Like a Dragon. And I have the steelbook version. Basically what they did in the series, it's quite funny because the Yakuza 0 through 6 are all action beat 'em up games, and then they took it to a whole new level with Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is a turn-based JRPG. Yeah, it's still a beat-up game, but then it's turn-based, and I'm really interested by this because it basically takes what I like about Yakuza 0 and the other games, namely the story, but then puts it in this turn-based type game, which I really like. So I think that this game out of the series is the one that I will like playing the most, and it'll also be the last one because it's the 7th or even the 8th game. Now that wraps up my PlayStation 4 collection, and I also have 3 PlayStation 5 games as of now, and I'll go through them really quickly. The first PS5 game that I have is Hades. Still have it sealed. Picked this up for like 15 euros sealed, so that was a great deal. Now this was nominated for many Game of the Year awards a couple of years ago. It's supposed to be a really cool game. I'm not sure if it's for me. It's a pretty hard game, and yeah, I've said before, I'm not the best gamer out there. I mean, I'm not horrible. I mean, I have a lot of games. I play a lot of games, so I'm okay at most games. But when it comes to games like, say, Bloodborne, Dark Souls, or perhaps even Hades, they tend to be pretty difficult. You have to rinse, repeat certain battles. If you die, you try again. And I just don't really have the attention span to get better, or I'm not that competitive anymore. So I bought this to try it out. If I don't like it, I will just resell it, even make a profit when it's open. That's crazy. But yeah, perhaps it will definitely, there's a chance that it will resonate with me, so I'll give it a try soon. Here's my PlayStation 5 version of Judgment. Already came out on the PS4 earlier than re-released on the PS5. This is basically a tie-in with the Yakuza series. In the Yakuza series, you play as a mob, as a mafia person, and then in Judgment, you play as the detective in the same universe, same city as some of the games. And yeah, I picked this up because I love the Yakuza series so much. Great price for this as well, and yeah, I think I'll play the Judgment games after the Yakuza games, so that might be another year or so, but yeah, I have my copy. And finally, my third game is Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. I am playing through this. No, wait, I finished this a couple of days ago. I was gonna say I'm playing through this, but I finished this. And I thought that it was not as good as the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man. I thought the character was not as likable, the humor was a bit less. Perhaps what didn't help was that I played these one after the other, so I was kind of bored out by the web slinging. It was still okay to do, but it was not just like when I first started up the first game. So perhaps it would have been better if I had finished the first game first, then wait a couple of months and try this one and hype it up a little bit, then go back to web slinging and battling and story mode that I remembered from the first game. And perhaps it would have I would have received it better. But yeah, in the end, this game is still a good game. But yeah, if you definitely don't like the first game, you're not gonna like this one either. So those are my PS5 games. I actually have the PS5 bundle with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I played that game and got a platinum on it, but that was really soon after the PlayStation 5 was released, so I had the game, beat it, and then resold it for quite a bit of money still. So I'll pick that up later. Because I have a platinum for it, I don't really plan on playing it again. So I'll just move these out of the way, and I still have some PSP and PS Vita games to show you, so I'm looking forward to that. Alright, so the first PlayStation handheld system that I have a collection for is the PSP. I'll just show you my systems first. I've got 3 of them. This is the 1000 model, it's the white one. Decent condition. And then the second one I have is a pink one, it's a 1000 model as well. So that's the fat PSP. And then finally, this is my third one, which is the 2000 series, and this is the special edition that came out in Japan and Europe for the Final Fantasy VII 10th anniversary game. So this game came bundled. This system came bundled with Final Fantasy Crisis Core. I'll show you that in a bit. Really happy to have picked up this limited edition copy. The pink one and the silver one I only have loose, but the white one I have complete in box. I'll look forward to upgrading that in the future, but yeah, for now this will do. So moving on to the games, the PSP actually has quite a big library of games, and it exists or is made up of several types of games. First of all, there are many top titles like AAA titles like Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, which is just one of the entries in the main series. It's not a port or something. And then the PSP also got quite a lot of games that were ported over from the PS2. So basically what Sony wanted to do was make a handheld experience out of the PlayStation 2 games. So they made like perhaps over 100 games that were just thinned down and slightly slimmer versions of the PS2 games, and yeah, those are kind of lackluster, so you won't see too many of those. I try to collect PSP exclusive games like this one, and the PSP is also a great system for rhythm games, game collections, and then also RPGs or JRPGs. So yeah, we'll just continue with the rest of the games. So the next one is the only game that I have loose. It's Burnout Legends. Great racing game. I believe it's also a PSP exclusive. Next is Capcom Classic Collection Reloaded. Now this is one of these collection titles that I was talking about. This one holds about 20. Yeah, I think 20 games. All old school Capcom games, so Street Fighter and Ghouls and Ghosts, Commando and stuff like that. So you can get a lot of games just by buying one UMD, and that's pretty cool. So the PSP did that a lot. Next is Crash Tag Team Racing. And Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. This is the game that came with my limited edition console or handheld. Looks like a pretty cool game. I really want to get to this once I finish the second part of Final Fantasy VII Remake. Here's Dexter. So that's the sidekick of Jack and Dexter games. And he got his own game on the PSP. Here's Dissidia Final Fantasy. Many Final Fantasy games to be had on the PSP. Here is Dissidia Final Fantasy Duocidem or 012. I don't know exactly how to pronounce the title. Has some art cards. Really cool edition. And then the white cover, white case game. If you want to play the first Final Fantasy titles, they actually released on the PSP as well as remasters. This is the first Final Fantasy game. And Final Fantasy 2. Now I'm still looking for the third game, which is a Japan exclusive, but it is in English, so I'm gonna try and get that. I currently have it on the Nintendo DS, the third Final Fantasy game, but yeah, having it on the same system as the first two would be cool. And here I have Final Fantasy IV, the complete collection. Now, compared to the original version of Final Fantasy IV, this one holds the kind of the expansion story called the After Years. And yeah, this is just like Dissidia, has some art cards, and yeah, it's a cool special edition. Now, some of you might not know that the PSP also plays movies. And yeah, these UMDs, what the discs in the cases are called, can be used to print movies on as well. So what they did is they actually made a lot of movies, A titles, B titles, even some shitty titles. And you can watch them on the PSP, and this is the only one I have. It's Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. This movie also has a Blu-ray version nowadays, so it's probably not the best way to watch it, but yeah, it's still cool to have a Final Fantasy movie on the PSP. Final Fantasy Tactics, War of the Alliance. People think this is one of the best games on the PSP. I haven't played it yet, but it's definitely up my alley. It's kind of like Fire Emblem, strategy RPG. And here is a game called Hatsune Miku Project Diva, which is a rhythm game, Japan exclusive. Great games, many great songs like J-pop and like EDM songs and stuff like that. And then I also have the second one, Project Diva Second, and the third one, Project Diva Extend. Now these don't go for a lot of money in Japan. Over there they're only like $5 in comparison, but to get them over here overseas can get quite expensive. So I think I paid 50 euros shipped for these three, which was okay. But yeah, great games, awesome additions to your collection if you like rhythm games or like quirky Japanese games. Here is Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories, great portable version of that game. And Vice City Stories. Next, God of War actually got two titles on the PSP that are PSP exclusives. This one is Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. Now these are great games. I think they were re-released on the PS3 or perhaps even on the PS4. So you can play them on that, but yeah, great experience on the PSP as well. Gran Turismo, realistic driving game. PSP exclusive of Jak and Daxter series, Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier. And Killzone Liberation. This is my favorite PSP game. It's called Loco Roco, and it's really weird. It's also quite hard to describe what kind of game this is. It's sort of like a 2D platformer, but it relies a lot on the music. You don't really interact with the music, but the music is just really present and really cool. You should definitely look up the music of this game. It's really addictive to listen to. Sometimes I just pop it in the PSP to listen to the main theme. But yeah, how to describe this game? You actually go about as one of these little blobs, and you collect smaller pieces, so you grow, and then sometimes during the level you have to split up, so the big guy splits up into like 30 of these little ones, and you use them to like sort of go through yeah, how do I put it, something like pinball machines and these really narrow alleys, and yeah, it's just a cool game, and it's sort of like a 2D adventure. But yeah, the music makes this really awesome, and it's just a lot of fun. One of these games that I had growing up on the PSP. Next up, a puzzle game, Luminous. And Luminous 2. Now, of course, the PSP doesn't have as much power as the PS2 does, so it was easier for the developers to make games that were like more compromised. So puzzle games, rhythm games, these kind of simplistic RPGs by today's standards are where it's at the PSP. Here's an exclusive Medal of Honor Heroes. And then Metal Gear Solid also came with some games for the PSP. This is Peace Walker. Picked this up for €5 and it was brand new. And Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. This is Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. Great racing game. It's made by Rockstar, and you can definitely tell it's almost like you're racing in a GTA type of city. And here's Motorstar Arctic Edge. I talked about this in my PS2 and 3 collections. But yeah, great racing game in the mud, and you use bikes and snowmobiles, and yeah. NBA Street Showdown, arcadey basketball game. I really like the FIFA Street games, and I think I've also played NFL Hits. So this one looked interesting, and I want to try this out sometime. Next up is Patapon. Some ugly stickers on here, but yeah, Patapon is it almost looks like it's made by the same people that made Loco Roco. The art style's kind of similar, 2D. It's sort of like an action rhythm game, so you press buttons on the music, and your army actually gets controlled by you in that way. And yeah, it's another one of those games that's really difficult to describe, but yeah, definitely watch a review on this if this speaks to you. It's one of the really overlooked titles. And here I have Patapon 2. There's actually a trilogy on the PSP. Recently I saw on the PS4 store that these are remastered for the PS4 as well, and PS5, so you can play them on the console as well for only a couple of bucks each. Prince of Persia Rival Swords. And here is Ratchet and Clank Size Matters. Secret Agent Clank. So just like with Jak and Daxter, Daxter got his own game, and Clank got his own game as well. So if you're a fan of the series, that's definitely worth checking out. Here is Sonic Rivals. And here is Sonic Rivals. Now, I don't really get duplicates of games, and actually these aren't either. This is a copy of Sonic Rivals 2, which came in this case sometime. And yeah, I decided to just keep this case over it, and yeah, I'll upgrade in the future. Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. Now, I believe this is a remake of the original PS1 version. It's strategy RPG as well, so sort of like Final Fantasy Tactics. Highly regarded by fans, and yeah, it looks really cool. Artwork, amazing. And a game by Square Enix, so you can't go wrong with that. This is the other Japanese game that I have, and as you can tell, the PSP is region free, so you can play games from all over the world on it. This game is called Taiko no Tatsujin DX. Now that's difficult to pronounce. So this series has been region free on many systems. So on the DS, you can actually play it on the Wii if you have a Japanese or modded Wii. PSP got 3 versions, so Taiko no Tatsujin 1 and 2, and then DX. I got the DX version, which was the cheapest. I want to get the other ones too from Japan. Great rhythm games. There's pop music in here, J-pop, but also classical music and really weird music. But yeah, great fun. Another JRPG, Tales of Eternia. And Tekken Dark Resurrection, fighting game. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fighting game fan, but yeah, this game is one that I had when I first had my first PSP. And I actually got my cousin to buy a PSP as well. He bought this game also, and we played a lot together. Really great fun, great roster, like playing as Eddie and the panda. I'm not sure what name the panda has. Test Drive Unlimited. And Tokobot. Really weird game. Sort of 3D adventure game. Here's the most expensive game, also the largest one in my collection. It's called The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. Now this ties in with the PlayStation 4 games, the Trails of Cold Steel games. This one is actually a prequel, so there are 3 games on the PSP, but unfortunately in Europe we only got the first one. So there's Trails in the Sky, and then Trails in the Sky SC, I believe, that's the second one, and then there's a third one as well. So yeah, if you're in Europe, you can pretty much only get this one. I think in the US they also got the second one as a physical release, but I'm not entirely sure. So these are prequels to the Trails of Cold Steel games, and if you're interested in that series, I talked about it a bit earlier. But yeah, the definite way is to go with this game first, and then perhaps watch some playthroughs of the second and the third game of this trilogy, or play fan-translated versions on the PC. I'll see what I will do, but yeah, this is definitely the first game that I want to get into. It's supposed to be a really great series, and it looks definitely for me. Here is White Knight Chronicles Origins, which is the prequel to White Knight Chronicles 1 and 2 on the PS3. It looked really fun. I saw it in a pawn shop, didn't know this existed, just decided to pick it up, and then found out that this actually was received a lot better than its sequels. I have a couple more games left. This is Wipeout Pulse, really fast racing game. It's sort of like F-Zero with high speed. And Wipeout Pure, 2 of the Wipeout games came out on the PSP. And finally, my only sealed game for the PSP, published by Atlas. It's called Igra Union Will Never Fight Alone. Another strategy RPG. Yeah, look forward to get into this. I'm probably gonna break the seal on this and try it out. So that wraps up my PSP collection. I'll just move this out of the way and grab my PS Vita system and PS Vita games. So that will be the final part of this video. Just hold on 1 second. There we go. So the PS Vita, as probably a lot of you don't know, is actually quite a cool system, and many good games came out for it, but also it was kind of a flop. Sales didn't do too well in the West. And this is my PS Vita. It's actually the Hatsune Miku version, and that's a Japan exclusive, so I have a Japanese charger for this and I have to use an adapter to actually charge it. But yeah, this is a regular white PS Vita OLED model, and then it has a faceplate that's like a sticker, but then on the back side, and the Vita has a big large touchscreen on the back. This is actually imprinted on it, so that makes it kind of unique and really collectible. I have this complete in the box, and I found that last year for a great price, so I'm happy with that. But yeah, the Vita, amazing system, so many games, but it's really hard to come by these days. Games are crazy expensive. People just didn't buy them back in the day. So especially in Europe, I find it very hard to add games to my PS Vita collection. But when I do, it really feels really awesome. So I'll just get to the games for now. Set up the Vita over there. I don't have too many. But the first one is Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. Now, this is like a side game to the third Assassin's Creed game, exclusive to the Vita. Not the best Assassin's Creed game, I think, but it's still cool to be able to play such a AAA title on a handheld PlayStation system. Next is Danganronpa, another episode, Ultra Despair Girls. Danganronpa, if you don't know, is a series of visual novels, also anime series, and this is a spin-off title that is still exclusive to the Vita, unlike the other Danganronpa games. I'm pretty happy I didn't pick them up for the Vita, and they are really expensive, and I was contemplating getting them. But recently a Switch version and a PS4 version of the trilogy actually came out, so you can get them cheaper on that system. Still a great game if you're into visual novels or Japanese stories, anime. Awesome game, but yeah, pretty expensive to get. Here is Demon Gaze, excuse me. Kind of like your dungeon crawling RPG, in line with Etrian Odyssey, Persona Q and the like. Really anime-like, and that's something you'll definitely see a lot. The Vita was sold a lot in Japan, where obviously they like a lot of anime-style games. So that's, I wouldn't say the majority of games are anime-style, but there are many anime-style games. So if that's your jam, the Vita is for you. Yeah, awesome art style. That's what really attracts me from these types of games. This is FIFA 14. Not really sure why I have this. I just thought it would be cool to have a FIFA game. Kind of recent one on the Vita to play whenever I would feel like it, doing so on a handheld. And also one other thing, the FIFA games, even though this is really outdated by now, it's still cool to go back and see the roster of players from clubs from back in the day. So that's kind of cool. Here's Gravity Rush. Many people consider this the best or one of the best games on the Vita. Of course, remastered on the PS4. But yeah, it originally came out on the PS Vita and it's the best experience. I haven't played it, but I do think it's one of the games that I want to try first on the Vita. Really collectible game. Then here I have Hatsune Miku Project Diva F, which is the game that came with the bundle for my Vita. Rhythm game, just like the PSP ones. And then I also have the third game in that trilogy, so Project Diva X. There's also Project Diva F Second. I don't have that one yet, it's kind of pricey. I think it fetches like 50 euros to ship it over here. So that's a bit much for me at the moment, but I'll get that eventually. And yeah, these actually came out in the West as well. I do have the Japanese versions for both, but that's just because, yeah, if I have all my Hatsune Miku games in Japanese, why not get them all, right? So the Vita is region free as well, so you can play Japanese games. Killzone Mercenary. This is one of the only games that is still being played online, so there's an online community. Online shooting game. Little Big Planet for the Vita, and this is the Marvel Superhero Edition. I had the regular edition and upgraded into this one. Not sure if I'm happy with that. I'm not the biggest Marvel or even superhero comic fan, but I just thought that having a special edition would be better than the regular one. Another copy of Luminous. This one is Electronic Symphony. It's definitely better than a PSP. So that's a puzzle rhythm kind of game. Persona 4 Golden. I think that this will be my favorite title on the PS Vita. Back when the Vita came out, I wanted to get it, but it was sold out where I lived, so I had to get it secondhand. I picked it up and then bought this on release, or short after, at least in the store, I remember. Awesome game. Watched the anime series as well. Of course, many of you are probably familiar with Persona 5, but this one is definitely just as good. Yeah. And the golden version is the definitive one. The original Persona 4 came out on PS2, and then this one came out on Vita, and also on PC later. And there are rumors that this one will be ported to PS4 and PS5 as well. Here is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, duplicate. I also have it on the PS3. Smash Bros on PS Vita. Rayman Origins. Can't go wrong with this game. Most of you have probably played this. It was marketed a lot, sold a lot. Awesome 2D platforming game. Yeah, great fun. And not the most expensive game, so if you have a Vita, pick that up. Now, it's kind of a funny story with this game, and actually the one that comes after. That's kind of coincidentally alphabetical order. But yeah, what happened was I ordered this game, Steins Gate, through Facebook Marketplace or just a Facebook group, and it actually came with the Tales of Hearts R game inside. So there's no Steins Gate visual novel game here, even though I still want to get that game loose. So it came with the Tales of Hearts R loose game in, and the person just had mistaken it, and then afterwards they sent me the case for this. So now I have a complete copy of Tales of Hearts and an empty case for Steins Gate. Tearaway, another one of those games that got ported to the PS4, but the better version is on PS Vita. System seller. This game uses all the functionalities of the Vita. So the Vita has a front touchscreen, a back touchscreen, a gyro sensor, dual sticks, all these kinds of functionalities, and this game uses them all, and it does it really well. Uncharted Golden Abyss, also one of the best games on the Vita, must have, definitely. I think in the US this one fetches up quite a bit of money, but in Europe it's still okay, like 20 euros or so. So I'm playing through this, kind of on a hiatus at the moment, but I do want to finish this. It's not too long of a game, but I want to play this first and then the other Uncharted games, because this one is supposed to be the prequel, I think. Here is Virtue's Last Reward, which is a, yeah, sort of like, it's not exactly a visual novel. It's more like a puzzle game, kind of. This is a sequel to 999, or 9 Persons, 9 Hours, 9 Lives or something, which came out on the Nintendo DS in US only. Virtue's Last Reward is another great game. That's definitely worth checking out, highly regarded, and recently also bundled together with 999 in a game called The Nonary Wars, or The Nonary Files, I don't know. So that came out on a PS4. That way you can get them both, and it's probably the cheapest version. But yeah, this is cool to have on the Vita. I think it's, yeah, one of those collectible games. Next is Wipeout 2048, one of the best looking games on the PS Vita. And this is Ys Memories of Celceta. I actually have a US version of this. So Ease is a action JRPG series of games. This one came out on PS4 as well. Really happy to have the PS Vita version, even though I kind of want to play it on the PS4. It just feels better, I think, to play action RPGs on that. But yeah, this is definitely a more collectible version. And yeah, just like with many of the PS Vita games, they are really rare, especially for the JRPGs and the visual novels and just the stuff that people want to get a PS Vita for. So yeah, that's worth mentioning. Finally, I have this case. I'm not sure if there's a game in it now. Just a loose one. If I get a loose game sometime, I'll have a case. So that wraps up my Vita collection, and then again my entire PlayStation collection. I would like to thank you for watching this. If you haven't seen it and if you are interested in more of my collection, watch the first part, which has all my Nintendo stuff from the NES all the way to the Nintendo Switch, and then the handhelds from the Game Boy to the 3DS. This is the second part, and then there will also be a third part that I'm still gonna record. It will be on my Xbox stuff and then my Sega stuff. And recently I actually picked up quite a bit of Sega stuff, so that collection is growing as well, so that might be interesting for you to watch if you like these kinds of videos. Yeah, let me know what you think. If you have a collection video yourself, drop me a link. I'll check it out as well, and hope to see you the next time. Thank you guys, bye.